writing a check, there's only a few sections that you really need to fill in, and most of it's common sense. But just understanding the map, the layout of that check is the hardest part. Welcome everyone, Dr. Anthony Criniti IV here, also known as Dr. Finance, and I want to welcome you to this incredible video today. So writing a check is a fundamental life skill in today's world, and especially in the area of finance. So I want to put a little video just demonstrating how to do it. How do you write a check? So very, very simple. And by the end of this video, you will know how to write a check. It's very, very simple. There's a lot of little things beyond this video that like security features and stuff that really is not relevant to the average person. It's good to know. But for the average regular person who just wants to write a check, this video is very short video, should tell you all that you need. Okay. So with that said, let's get to it. Now I created a sample check. It's not a real check. It's just a, like a thumbnail. It's a little image, and we're going to use that image to educate today. So I'm going to teach you using this image. Okay. So we'll look at the image. This is it's not a real check in, but it contains all the information that the average person needs to know about for a check. So we can take it right from the top. All right. So you should be seeing this check here. I hope you like my artwork. I'm getting very good at this designing stuff. So I want to I want to put this check up here for you, just to take a look at all the basic information here. Okay, so we'll start top left corner. First thing is your name and your address. Now this should already be pre-printed on there. So when you get a checkbook, you'll probably have a stack of checks. You might get 100 at a time. Some get a few hundred. If you just got temporary checks, you might only get 3 or 4 until your real checkbook comes in the mail. Okay. But this is generally what your official checkbook would have. It would have your name and address at the top. That's on every single check. All right. So let's just pretend you have a new stack of 100 checks. I really got to stop doing these videos at nighttime. All right. New stack of 100 checks. And the first one, let's say, starts at 101. All right, so you'll have 100 checks that basically look mostly the same, except it'll be blank on certain spots. So I already pre-filled this in for you guys so we can walk through it. But generally, some information would just be all the lines. See everything with a line there? That would all be blank. All right, so don't worry. I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So your name and your address is in the top left-hand corner. And then the bank name, I'm going to skip down a section. See the bank name and bank address? That should also be pre-filled. Sometimes there's no address, and that's okay. It would just say the bank name. Okay, so you'll have the bank name somewhere usually at the bottom, right above the for section. That'll be pre-filled in. Let me tell you what else is pre-filled in. Before we get to the filled in stuff, let's go back to the top again. Top right-hand corner, this is check 101. That'll be pre-filled in, but this will change every check. So your next check will say 102, okay? And then the next one, 103. And, sometimes you might have thousands of checks, and it might go up to 2,000 or 3,001, et cetera. Okay, so this is generally a starter check, a 101. All right. Also, there's a pay to the order section, and that has a dollar amount. We're gonna look at that in just a moment. And then underneath that, that's another dollar section, and I'll tell you about that in a second. Now, the other part that is pre-filled is these numbers at the bottom. There's 3 numbers at the bottom. Let's talk about them. So the first set of numbers on the bottom left corner, it has a little funny symbol, and then it's got 9 numbers, and then the same funny symbol again. Okay, so the symbol is just that's just standard. Okay, that's referencing that there's going to be numbers, and the numbers between that symbol is all you need to know. That's called your routing number, right? That's the routing number of the bank that you have your money in. So that's the routing number. Now, your actual account number is the second set of numbers right next to that. there should be about 10 digits there. That's why I have a 0. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. These are not real numbers, folks. Again, this is just a sample check. And it's 10 digits usually, and it's right next to the routing number. So you got routing number, then you got account number. That's your personal number. All right, so one for the bank and one for you. The fourth set of numbers is all the way to the bottom far right, where here it says 0101. That is the check number. All right, so it's 0, and then it's got your check number right after that. All right, so that just tells the bank information about this check. So beyond you basically understanding what we just discussed, once the bank gets the check, that really is for them to know what to do at that point. But it's good to know this, because if you ever need an account number or a routing number, you can pull that information right off your check, and because you know where to go to get that, instead of having to go dig up your bank paperwork, you know it's right on the check. They put that information right there. Okay, so let's get to how to actually write a check, the title of this video. So first thing you do, top right corner, put the date in. So I made this video December 7th, 2023. You could be listening to this 5 days from now, 5 months, 5 years, 50 years, I don't know, 100 years, maybe 2,000 years in the future. You'll be coming back and saying, wow, that's pretty cool. Dr. Finance on December 7th, 2023. Now, the reason I wrote out December 7th is because I know I'm here in the US and we put 12/7/23. That's how we write it out numerically. But different parts of the world, most parts of the world actually put the date, the day first. So 7/12/23 instead of 12/7/23. So I just wrote it out just to make it nice and clear for you guys. Okay, so put the date first. However you do it, it's fine. If you're in the US though, make sure you put the month first and then the day. And be aware of that too, because if you're writing out a check in another country and they use a different system, they might think it's the opposite. They might think if you wrote 12/7, they might think it's July 12th, 2023, not December 7th. All right, so the next section right to the left, sort of in the center, says pay to the order of, and you're going to want to put the name. So I just wrote the logo here, but really you have to write the name of the person you're writing the check to. So if it's Jane or John Smith, write their name. If it's a company, Jane Smith Company, make sure you put that there. Some companies have very long names and are very specific, and it's super annoying writing the check, but you just have to be aware of your space and make sure you can fit everything on that line. If you mess up and put the wrong name or you misspell it, many times it's just better and safer just to put a big X right over the check and write void and then just start over, because the bank may not accept that check. And that is a chance that you generally don't want to take, because then your bill might bounce, might be overdue. And if you're dealing with like credit card companies, that could be a lot of interest for you. Okay, so always be safe and just make sure you take your time and write and concentrate when you write these checks. This is one activity in finance you don't do. Almost all your activities you should be focused on, but especially writing checks. Do not multitask with this. Put all your attention on writing this check, because if you goof it up, it really could have a lot of negative consequences. Your bank could, your bills might not get paid, or something goofy might happen. So with that said, next item to fill out is we move over right next to the pay the order of, we put the dollar amount. Generally the dollar is already there, but if it's not, you can just write the dollar. And if here in the US we're using dollars, but if you're in another country and you use a different currency, then whatever the symbol for that is, then you put the numerical amount. Okay, so the numerical monetary amount. In this case, here in the US, it's I put $1 million. Okay, you can. I mean, it could be 10 million. It could be 30 cents. I just wanted to show you what a bigger number looks like. You could always make it smaller. So 1 million, and then that's how you write the number in that section. But the whole purpose of the line underneath is to write it out alphabetically. Okay, so numerical, you're putting the same information, but you're going to do it again in the word format underneath, because this is a check and balance to make sure you put the right number. If you put the wrong number, this whole check, this could be a big nightmare for you. They can cash the wrong amount, and that could be to your benefit or work against you. But either way, it'll probably get corrected. So you don't want to spend. There are a lot of stories of people who've received lots of millions of dollars and it was an accident, but then the bank will eventually catch it, and don't spend that money. Okay. All right. So this is how you avoid. The banks avoid this nightmare of a situation. They force you to write the number out, both numerically in that box right there, and then underneath, write the word out. So write one, in this case, 1 million. And for cents, put 2 zeros, a slash over 100 in this case, because we have 100 pennies equals $1 in the US. So 2 zeros means no cents, and over 100. It could have been, 30 cents, and then you put 30 over 100. All right. And I like to put a squiggly line after that, right before you get to the dollars, the written out dollars name that's pre-printed there, because this will ensure that they understand that it stops there, the name stops there, and there's no more space, no more potential to add any more words and enlarge the amount. It's just a safety net. Okay, so I put that little squiggly line there. All right. Now, the only other sections I haven't told you about is the bottom. The fourth section, sometimes they call it memo. You don't have to write anything in here. As a fact, I've had friends that owed me money, and they would jokingly just put some random stuff in there, and the bank cashes. They don't care. They're like, oh, what's that? It's just a memo. It's for yourself, right? It has nothing to do with really to check the bank itself. It really has to do with the person who's writing it and the person who is depositing it. So it's information being passed between those two parties. All right. So, for example, sometimes you pay like your utility bill, they'll ask you to put your account number there, right? Or maybe if you're paying the IRS, they want you to put your social security number there. Be very careful about putting your social security numbers on checks, because it has to go through the mail, and someone can intercept that check and take that information. Okay, so that is the memo section. All right, so don't take that too seriously, that section. But if they are requesting to put your account number, that's where we'll go. Okay, the memo section is the most flexible section on this whole check. You can put a lot of things there. And just remember that story I told you about my friends used to write pretty much just random stuff on there, and in a joking form in that section, and it would be passed along. And you can do that. So the last section is very important. It's the bottom right section. You have to sign your name there. If you don't sign your name, it won't be acceptable. Okay. So the check will not work if you don't sign your name. And to follow through with that, the person who is receiving the check, in order to cash the check, must flip this check over on the back. And I don't have a picture of what that looks like, but on the back, there's a line at the top. They must sign that section when they're depositing at the bank. If they don't sign that section, it will not work either. So both parties have to sign. So the person who writes the check signs right here in the bottom right, and the person who cashes the check or deposits the check signs on the back of the check at the top. There's a line at the top that says endorse, and that's where that person would sign. And that would make it official, okay? So you need 2 signatures on a check. Yours, well, the person who writes the check on the front, and the person who cashes the check or deposits the check on the back. One other thing I'd like to talk about, I don't have a sample here to show you other than this blank book I have here. This is called a transaction register. It comes with every check. Every checkbook should give you one of these. And you put it in the sleeve, on the top sleeve of the cover, where you insert the actual checkbook on the bottom. And what you do here is you will be putting, every time you write a check, you're going to put the check number in the first box here. Okay. In this case, you write 101. I'd put the first two sections just to show you. You're going to stay on the line. Okay. You're going to put one check in each box. So the next one will be 102. But I put the date there, and you can fill in the rest. Basically, you write the name of the who you wrote the check to. In this case, it'd be Dr. Finance in the white section, and then you put the amount right over here, and any other notes after that. One other comment I'll make about this is there's a section where you put the check mark right after the amount. So this is a good way to double check to make sure every one of your checks are done correctly. You check after you write your checks. Maybe you don't have to do it every day. If you want to, you can. But at least once a week, I recommend at least 2 or 3 times a week. Go into your bank online, check it out, and verify that the checks were deposited. Once they're deposited, then you put a check put a check right next to each one of your checks. So at the end, you will have a whole list. Hopefully, let's say you have 10 checks here. Every one of those checks should have a check mark right next to it to note that it was paid and it was deposited, accepted by the bank. Okay, and this will make sure that you don't have any problems, because if some checks were not cashed, it gets very confusing after you start getting into like 50, 100 plus checks. You don't want any surprises one day and the money's coming out because the check from 3 months ago never cleared until recently. All right, so it's just a good way for peace of mind to know that all your checks are clearing in the right amount of time. Okay, so I would definitely do that. I would this extra transaction register. Every time you write a check, go right to that and just put the name down and start filling things out. It's very, very important part of writing checks. So I know there's a lot of videos to teach you how to write checks, so they don't tell you that. You really need to do the transaction register at the same time. It's for your own peace of mind. So that's it, folks. It's pretty simple. Writing a check, there's only a few sections that you really need to fill in, and most of it's common sense. But just understanding the layout of that check is the hardest part. Knowing that you need to put the date, your name, who you're writing it to, where, being exact with your amount, and then writing the actual word of the amount in the box underneath. Those are some of the most important things, and don't forgetting to sign it, of course. Okay. After you do it a few times, it just becomes routine. It's really not that hard. It's like riding a bike. You never forget it. Once you got it, you don't forget that kind of stuff. So definitely encourage you to practice writing checks. Don't get used to doing just digital all the time. There's a real solid reason for having a checkbook, especially that it's ease of use. You can write exact amounts, and there's a trail. If you have a duplicate copy, which is usually behind your check, you actually have a copy, and you keep that copy at your wherever your office is, then you will be able to always have proof that you wrote that check, physical proof. It's always good to have physical proof, just in case that digital proof there's some kind of error, and you need to show that there is something that really happened. Okay, so it's a great skill set to learn, and doesn't take long. So I want to thank you all for being here. Dr. Anthony Criniti IV, also known as Dr. Finance. Folks, if you want to find out more information, go to drfinance.info. Also, don't forget to read my books if you're interested about finance. I wrote them over 10 years ago as a university professor. My first book, The Necessity of Finance, and then The Most Important Lessons in Economics of Finance, and then The Survival of the Richest. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate you checking out this video, and let us know your thoughts. Was this video helpful? Do you have any other questions that maybe I can answer in other future videos? So thanks, everyone. Have a great evening or morning, wherever you are. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.